We're snorting cap rates and shooting up cash flow here at Deal Junkie. Welcome back to Deal Junkies. I'm Gabe Johansson. We are back in the SMI studio with Trevor Howard, Mike Nuss, and our very special guest, Garrett Terrell, Scottsdale, Arizona, founder and CEO of Rocket Capital. Thanks for being on the show, Garrett.
Wait, and yes, special note. Better investor than Jan, our good friend Jan.
Okay.
Garrett won't say it, but that's what I'm claiming.
No.
Trevor's going to try to throw some shade at Jan because, Garrett, you're in the same space, MHP, mobile home park, but you're doing it all. So you're in Arizona. Originally, you were born and raised in Olympia. Somehow you ended up living in Arizona. It's about 150 degrees there right now, I'm guessing.
Yep.
And your studio, I'm looking at your studio. It looks like you're in our studio. We have the same wall. How cool is that?
Yeah. Home office.
We're like soulmates.
I had to trick it out, just like you guys.
So Alabama. So you're in Arizona, but you're buying parks and running parks in Alabama. How many of these parks do you have in Alabama, Garrett?
We have 13 parks currently.
And so that's why I say better than Jan. Well, because he's able to do it in one state, and they're having to go across the country. Okay. It's way easier to operate in one state.
Obviously, one question is we want to know why Alabama. But before we do that, Garrett, can you just take us back in time? Tell us your story, how you got started, how you end up in real estate. You're 30 years old, so you're a young guy. You're doing really well. Tell us how this all began.
Thank you. Yeah. I played Division I baseball in college. I thought that was going to be my path and career. But
you thought you were going to the MLB?
Yeah, I wanted to, selfishly, ego-wise.
Where'd you play?
I played at Incarnate Word in San Antonio, Texas.
Oh, I know where that is. Right along the freeway there. That's a crazy place.
Yes.
How close were you to making it?
Not very close. It was a lot of fun, but I really wanted to get into business and start making money and providing, and so I got done with baseball and instantly jumped into real estate. My mom had a mortgage, or not a mortgage business, but title and escrow business for 20 something years. So I kind of grew up in the real estate business, and so I, as everyone did, wanted to get into real estate. It was a great time, and originally got my license just to try to figure out how all this works, and quickly did not like being an agent and transitioned to fix and flip.
Why didn't you like being an agent?
Because it is a sales job, and I did not like that.
Not a sales guy?
I wanted to, not naturally. Okay. No. It was, I did not like that. It just did not feel like me. But I loved the fix and flip aspect. So I did that from 2018 to really end of 2022 until the rates kind of changed. And I was looking for yield. I was looking for cash flow, and looked into multifamily and looked in a bunch of different asset classes, and kind of stumbled upon mobile home parks and bought my first mobile home park in 2023, 33 unit in Montgomery, Alabama. And did really well in my first one, hit a home run on it, and kind of just took that story and ran with it and built a company out of it.
Wow.
So going back to your fix and flips, how many homes did you flip over that 4-ish year period of time?
We did probably 50.
Oh, dang. Okay.
50 fix and flips. Yeah. Mainly in the Olympia, Lacey, Tumwater area. And it was great when it was great, but when the market turned, it was not fun.
Yeah, did you get caught with some projects halfway through and get stuck in them, or what happened with those?
Yeah, we did very well in fix and flip, but we basically in 22 we broke even on one, and then we lost money on one, and we're like, okay, this is not fun anymore. Like let's transition, let's pivot.
That's pretty good if you made money on 48 others. Gabe flipped 13 homes and made money on none of them.
Thanks. You're better than Jan and me, Garrett. You win.
It was a lot of luck, I would say. The market was tremendous back then, with the rates and everything.
How heavy of renovations were you doing on these things?
just basic cosmetic turns, nothing great. We weren't like, adding additions or anything like that. We're just pretty much doing cosmetic turns, floors, doors, trim, cabinets, countertops,
and that's
just the basic flip.
Yeah, that's a lot of flips to do as like someone jumping into it too. Like, how are you finding these deals, and how'd you even know what they cost? Because you're coming from playing baseball to flipping homes.
I had a really, really good mentor. I will shout out Joe Simonette in Olympia, Washington. He's been an agent, team owner, flipper, investor in Olympia. I always like to call him the Godfather in Olympia because he's been doing it forever, and he kind of took me under his wing, and he was a really great guy, and learned a lot from him, and that's kind of how I got started. I didn't know how to do any of this. I just kind of sat next to the person that knew how to do it and asked a ton of questions and had a good desire of how to learn all this, and I was just a sponge, and just kind of pulled the trigger and started doing it myself and just kind of figured it out.
Were you doing deals with Joe, or was he just helping you on your own deals?
He was just helping me, giving me contractor connections and hard money connections, and kind of just another set of eyes on deals, because I kind of had a good idea about this is kind of a good flip, and then I got a second pair of eyes on it, and he kind of just confirmed a lot of that stuff and really helped me for my first couple of years in the business, 2-3 years.
Yeah. So when you were flipping those, what are you trying to make on the average house in that area?
It was tough. I was happy with a $20,000 to $25,000 net. If we could do a 3 to 6 month flip and we could make 25 on it net, I was happy with that.
Mm-hmm.
Looking back, that's really tight, and everything has to go perfect for that to happen. But at the time, I was stoked.
It's a lot of risk for a pretty small reward.
Yes.
Yeah, I would have rather just brokered a house and got paid $20,000 and not risked anything.
You got to be a salesman for that, though.
Yeah.
You have to listen to other people.
Yeah, you got to show the buyer 30 houses for that to happen. That was not the fun part.
Yeah. So tell us about your transition into MHP. So you said you were looking for yield, and I'm imagining you kind of, the way you worded it, you said you kind of fell into it, but I'm imagining you're out looking for yield, looking at different asset types. It's no surprise that you landed on MHP in Alabama, because that's where you're going to find yield. I mean, if you're looking for cash flow, you're not going to be buying multifamily or office in Olympia, Washington.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I was just looking at, honestly, just what made money. I was Arizona is extremely expensive. The parks here are crazy, crazy expensive, 5-6 caps. And I was just looking to, make money day one, so I started looking in the Southeast. I started looking in Georgia and Tennessee, Kentucky, Arkansas, kind of that little pocket in the Southeast, and honestly underwrote a ton of deals before I bought my first one. And then I felt like I found a good one. I had a good feeling about it. Went there, met the seller in person, did the whole thing, and eventually bought it, and went through with it.
How do you underwrite a deal in a state you've never been to, or were you familiar with the Southeast?
Not familiar at all. I just really just tried to fit, back of the napkin type underwriting. It was not fancy. There was no giant pro forma Excel spreadsheet. It was just, what made sense. I just tried to figure out what made sense.
Were you just looking at cash flow? You weren't too worried about population or job growth or income or any of that?
No, I looked at that. I definitely didn't want to buy a deal in a town of 1,200 people. It was a giant risk, so I wanted to make sure it was first in a good market. And Montgomery is the capital, about a 450,000 MSA population. Okay. So I felt a little bit more comfortable about that. Good location. It was a mom and pop owner that was retiring, and it was just a great deal to start out on.
Seller carry, or did you have to finance it?
No, I had to finance it. And we can get into that. That was a absolute nightmare.
Oh, let's talk about it. Yeah, what'd you buy the deal for and how'd you do it?
Let's start with, you said you started looking, so kind of define what were your steps from an acquisition standpoint. Were you working with brokers, wholesalers? Were you doing your own outreach? Like, what was that process to start looking? Yeah, so you're going direct to seller?
Just my own. This was actually an on-market deal.
Okay.
So I was just looking at everything. I was looking at, Facebook groups, Crexy, LoopNet. I was just looking at anything and everything, just trying to underwrite more deals, figure out, what are these brokers trying to present to me? Why? I was just trying to figure out the mobile home park business because I knew it was a great business and asset class, but I'm like, why? Why is it good? And, so it was, a lot of on-market deals at the start.
Are there some thought leaders in that space that you like to follow? Anybody that you clung on to for wisdom?
Yes. I would say Ryan Naris, absolute. He is I would say a genius when it comes to mobile home parks. Derek Vickers, as well. He's out of Tampa, Florida. And actually, my buddy, I don't know if you guys know him, but Ethan Leach out of Kirkland, Washington, was actually the first friend of mine that told me about mobile home parks. And he has a bunch of parks in Texas. He lives in Austin now. But he was the first one who told me about it. And so, those three guys kind of helped me, I looked at a lot of their content before. Derek and Ryan, watched a ton of their videos, and I was just trying to be a sponge and learn.
So you wanted to find out why it was a good asset type. What conclusion did you land on? Why is it a good asset type?
Well, what I like about it is that it is the demand for it. So the demand is great because, it's affordable housing. There's always going to be people that need, a place to live, and you really can't find much cheaper than a mobile home. Some people don't want to live in apartments and, they want a little bit of land and a little bit of space. And so the demand for it has been insane. That's one thing that it's kind of been a little eye-opening because whenever we post a mobile home, there is 50 people that reach out within a couple days. Like, so the demand's insane.
Are you owning the home or are they owned by the tenants?
We've done both.
Okay.
Where we own so it just depends on condition and, all that stuff. But I will say the tenant-owned homes where we just charge lot rent is much easier. You don't make as much money, but it is much easier if you don't own the home.
Why?
CapEx.
Don't have to do maintenance.
Don't have to do maintenance. Yep. Just lot rent. And, us as the owners, we kind of manage the utilities and everything. That's about it. And create a good living experience for them, the roads, mailboxes, stuff like that. But when you have to replace an AC unit or a window or a fridge or, that's when it starts to get very costly.
So why didn't you move to Alabama? Why'd you go to Arizona? You going to try to run this thing from across the country? You didn't want to live there?
Didn't want to live there. My wife's parents moved here. They actually bought a house here first and we started visiting and, and we couldn't do the Washington, the rain, the depression, couldn't do that. We had to get some sunshine. So that's why we moved. But I love Alabama, but I don't think I would live there. Personally.
So you bought 33 space was your first park. How did you think you were going to manage that?
I was going to figure it out one way or another. I was going to either hire a third-party management company or I was going to build it myself. I was going to figure it out one way or another. I was not worried about the management side of it, surprisingly. I was more worried about the deal and the numbers.
It's funny, no one ever is worried about the management.
It's actually the most important part of it.
It kind of is, yeah. So you found this property on market and you found it on market and went and met the sellers and property owners. Like, tell us about the journey and your finance story and all of that.
Yeah, it was tough, man. I was reaching out to a ton of different banks in Alabama. I literally called probably 50 different banks in Alabama. They all told me that I was crazy, that I was, a younger kid that I don't live there, so they didn't want to have me as a depositor at the bank. I needed to have a personal, I heard that story from 40 different banks.
We want a relationship.
Yes. That was it. That was a big part of it. And so I actually had to buy it with hard money, which I actually used a lender out of Washington, if you guys know Flynn Family Lending.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I basically cross-collateralized a duplex that I have in Olympia that I've owned for a while, cross-collateralized it, and purchased it with hard money.
So did they make you put money down still, or what it look like in terms of purchase price and loan amount and all that?
Very little. So I bought it. It was 33 units I bought for $1.1 million. And the cash to close, I mean, it was basically just fees, but the cash to close was, I think, less than $50,000 on that. But it was, they made up for it with the interest rate and fees and stuff like that. So
would they charge you 12%, 3 points or something?
Yeah, I think it was 12.5 and 2.5.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And then so you just bought this all on your own then, I'm assuming, at that point?
Yeah. All my own money, no investor capital. And I did that for a reason. I did not want to raise investor capital on my first one, because I couldn't honestly tell the investor, like, hey, I know exactly what I'm doing. You're going to get, I wanted to like cut my teeth first to like figure all this thing out first, and then go and raise capital if I did it well.
So how did you convince Flynn Family Lending to lend across the country when no bank in Alabama wanted to do it?
That is a great question. I don't know why.
How much equity did you have in the duplex? Was it a really nice duplex that they wanted to own?
I mean, it was, about a $500,000 duplex in Olympia, and I owed about, $300 on it.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, it was a good, cross collateral, but I just told that, like, I was just so convinced with the deal. I was like, look, just, bet on the jockey, and I'll figure out how to make this thing work.
And this was this was an 18, or no, you said 20 in 22, 23 or 23?
Yeah, this was 23. This was, gosh,
this is a few years ago.
Yeah, this was August of 2023.
So are you still in hard money on that, or have you gone to perm?
No. Went to permanent. Basically refinanced with Vanderbilt about 16 months after I bought it with hard money. Appraised at $2.4 million, and I did a 1.5 cash out on that deal.
That's sick. So you put 400 in your pocket or 300 or whatever, and had $1 million of equity or so.
Yep, and I bought another part cash with that cash.
Oh, dang. So you made way more money in 16 months doing this than you did flipping all those houses.
Yes. So that's when the light bulb popped in my head. I'm like, okay, this is something. Let's do something with this.
You said this is a lot more fun.
A lot more fun.
So that probably,
and I get
that cash flowed on your hard money probably at that point too then.
So yes, so that was the thing with the hard money. It barely cash flowed like $2,500 a month, $2,000 a month.
That's pretty sick though, because you bought it with basically no money, and on hard money, it paid for itself and gave you $2,000. So I mean, if you put $50,000 down and you cash flowed 12 on the year, or no, you'd be at like 24 on the year, again, close to 50%.
But it's not automatic. There were some months where it was a break even. It was tight. It was stressful. It was not fun carrying $1 million at 12% interest only. So,
I would have a lot of fun doing that if I got to buy with no money and had $1 million of equity and it paid for itself. That sounds pretty cool to me.
I have a few questions for you. I want to know how many times you had to go to Alabama for this deal. I want to know how you ended up managing it and how you doubled the value of it in 16 months.
Yep. So I bought it right. I bought it cheap. I think they listed it way too low. It got a ton of offers. And I just basically connected with the seller and met her there in person. And she's actually been a huge help to me. She's actually helped me manage these, believe it or not. We've built a great relationship, and she was, typical mom and pop seller, owned it for 35 years, wanted to, she didn't have a loan on it, wanted to get it paid off and wanted to pay off her house, and, kind of her, that was her reasoning why. And I told her my reasoning why, same exact story that I just told you, the fix and flip, and I need yield, and I'm looking to build a business, and we just hit it off. And so, it originally started out with, hey, I don't know what I'm doing. Can you help me with the transition into, managing these? And then that 90-day transition turned into, 3 years of management that she's helped me with. And, local on-site boots on the ground contacts and stuff like that.
So do you pay her to manage the property?
Yeah.
So she's your manager. The seller's your manager.
So she wanted to get out of it probably because didn't she want to get out of it? I'm assuming because she didn't want to manage it anymore, and then
she wanted to pay off her house.
No,
he
no,
helped
no.
her pay off her house.
No, she didn't. No, she did not want a management. She needed some cash.
Okay.
And so I gave her the cash. She loves to manage these.
Oh.
She needed cash.
Does she manage some of your other parks then for you now too?
The other park that I bought cash, she does. Yes, because it's 10 minutes away from there.
Does she live there?
Very easy. She's in that market. She doesn't live in the park. She's in that market.
Okay.
Though.
So you picked up the seller as your manager, and she helped you double the value of it in 16 months. And then she helped you manage the park you bought with the equity you pulled out of the park she sold you.
Yep.
Does she have a profit share agreement in her management agreement? A little participation clause?
She just gets paid a fee.
Well done.
If you, I mean, it's like that famous quote, if you help people get what they want, you will get what you want.
So how many times did you have to go to Alabama? Do you have to go there often?
Yeah, I go there probably very consistently every 2 months. Sometimes it's every, 6 weeks or so. But it's a little, 2-3 day here and there. It's not, I'm not there for 3-4 weeks. It's just very short, consistent trips throughout the year.
So how do you manage all this from Arizona? How are you keeping your finger on the pulse?
Well, so the deals that I own just by myself, with no investor capital, she manages those, the previous seller. But for the other deals that I have investor capital in, we have, employees and boots on the ground, and she doesn't manage those. So we have kind of two different layers of management, or two different sections of management on those.
Why'd you do it that way versus just having her manage all of them?
Well, she can't drive across the state. So she can only do the stuff that's close to her. So the stuff across the state, which we have deals pretty much all the way from Huntsville down to Mobile, we have to manage those ourselves.
We always talk about a spiritual principle that a good deal gets better and better. This is an example of that deal. Some of my favorite deals I've ever done, it wasn't even about the cash flow or the equity we built. It's about the personnel that we picked up with the project. Whether we pick up a new management company or we pick up some staff that's there on site, a new maintenance person, a new manager, whatever, those deals, because that deal, you picked up more than just a deal that worked on paper. You picked up her, which is a key part of your team now that you were able to start to build your portfolio around. You didn't even plan on that happening. You really, we call that a unicorn. You just lucked out. Because you could have, this could have gone a very different way had you not found good management in that market.
Yeah, 100%. That's exactly it. It was going to be make or break on the management. And I told her, and I was just brutally honest. I said, look, I do not know what I'm doing management wise. I need you to help me, coach me. I'm happy to pay you for this. And that was the initial conversation. I was like, I'll pay you to manage this. Just help me and teach me. And she was fine with that. When you get $1 million, in your bank account, it just, people tend to want to help. It could have gone really bad. But I just had a good gut feeling about it. And it worked out.
So do you have in-house employees for those other parks, or is that 1099s or third-party management, or what's that look like?
We have 3 VAs that are on payroll, and they're virtual. They help with us, the phone calls, the leases, like all of that stuff. And then Ethan, my buddy that I was telling you about, he helps oversee the on-site that we have there at some of the parks, and he helps oversee the employees and SOPs and stuff like that. And so he is actually the manager for the remaining portfolio.
Is he your partner now?
Yes. Yep.
So you did a few by yourself, and then you ended up bringing on a partner, and then you guys brought in investors together.
Yeah. No, just me. He has his own parks, his own deals, his own thing. He is a small equity percentage in all of the remaining part of my portfolio in return for helping me manage those.
Okay.
So I gave up my slice of the pie for him to help manage.
Okay.
Basically.
So he heads up operations.
Yes, basically.
So what rate did you get on that refi when you did it? And like, is 25-year AM, I'm assuming?
30-year AM.
Oh, wow.
We're at 7. This was middle to late 2024. We're at, currently on that, we're at 7.95% on a 30-year AM.
What do you think you would get today if you were to refi it again?
The refi that I just did was 7 on a 30-year.
Okay, so they'll charge you a little more for parks than multifamily.
Yeah.
Are there particular lenders that like MHP, like Vanguard? Like, do you have a list now where you're like, oh, I don't have to call 50 lenders? I know there's a handful of them that like parks.
Yes. I've that's been a huge catapult into this business, is really the lending relationships. So in Alabama, I built a really good relationship with a small local bank there. That really kind of helped us with the investor capital deals. And we had that was the refinance that I just did, but we had 6 loans with this small Alabama bank. And they were at 8% on a 20-year. So not the best terms, but they were super easy to work with, and they believed in me, and it was very easy to work with them. And so we just basically bought a bunch of value add parks, and just like literally 2 or 3 days ago, just refinanced those 6 into cheaper debt, 7% on a 30-year AM. And so it's been a mixture of like small local banks in Alabama, and then you got the bigger regional Vanderbilt, which is a stem from Clayton Homes, manufactured homes. They're like a side of that company. Same umbrella, but Vanderbilt Mortgage. They're big in the MHP space. They're like one of the bigger banks. And so it's been like a handful, a good handful of banks have really kind of helped me a lot.
So how many deals did you do before you started raising capital? And then what did those first raises look like?
Great question. So I actually did my first deal. It was one deal before I started raising capital. But I had that first deal, I didn't raise any capital for almost 2 years on that. Like I wanted to do a full cycle before I started raising capital, to just feel a little bit more comfortable about it, and to actually have proof, not just theory, but like actual proof. And so the first deal, we didn't do any debt or anything like that. We just raised cash and bought 2 parks cash. And those 2 deals, we bought, it was two parks 34 units. We bought for 600,000. That recently just appraised for 1.2. And so cool. That was a part of the investor cash out that I just did.
So you raised 600. Was that hard? Because that's a decent sized raise. Were you raising money for flips beforehand too? I'm assuming.
Yeah, friends and family capital. I have honestly, I'm very blessed with the capital partner that I have. He's a local guy here in Scottsdale. It's really been me and him on all of these deals together. It's honestly a huge blessing and something that I did not expect. It's totally a God thing of how we got connected and how we've been able to do these deals together and everything. So it's I'm not going out and raising capital from 50 different people. I have a small handful of people that I go to. But this main capital investor guy, I pretty much go to him for every single deal.
And he comes in as equity or debt or
equity.
So he's just a money partner, really.
Just a money partner. Yep. I'm the managing member and majority equity owner in all of these, but he's right up there close to me equity wise.
So you found somebody to bring the money and you found somebody to run your operations. So your role is you know how to find deals.
Yes.
And tell us how you find deals. What's your what is that first blush when you look at a deal? You're looking at in-place cap, like pro forma cap, like how are you looking at gross rent multiplier or how you can add value? How are you getting these projects to double in value in a short period of time?
The first thing I looked at is the story. The story of the seller, the story of the park, I think really plays a big part into it. I kind of look at obviously the deal and the numbers and everything is extremely important, but it has to be a certain, like I was looking for a certain specific seller profile, seller alias. I am looking for the mom and pop seller in Alabama that's owned it for 20 to 30 years, that knows every single nook and cranny about the park. I am looking to buy a park from them if they're, retiring, that sort of thing. That's the seller profile that I'm looking for. And so once I found deals that had that, and we did direct to seller, I had the cold callers, the, teeing up the appointments, the questionnaire, like the whole thing. But when it really came down to it, it is the seller profile has to fit that. Because I don't want to buy a deal from a guy my age that's only owned it for 2 years or 16 months. I'm not looking for that. That doesn't make sense to me. I'm looking for somebody who doesn't have any debt on it because we could potentially do seller financing, but I'm looking for that seller profile. And then the numbers and everything kind of come along later, because the rent roll for the park, the expenses for the park, that's kind of stationary. Those numbers are what they are. Then I go to the seller. Then we figure out what makes sense for the seller and what makes sense for me. I really try to get down to their why and like why they're selling, why they need the cash, why they need the capital. And then I kind of try to create something that's a win-win for both of us, and give them some options and kind of let them, bounce ideas back off of me. And I kind of make it like a team effort type of thing. With the fix and flip game, it was very like confrontational. It was like, no, I'm not dropping it for 250. I need to get 250, and I'm like, oh, I need it for, it's not that at all with the MHP space. What I've found, it's really kind of like a team effort to get to the closing.
And are you finding most of these sellers on market or through these cold calls and direct mail?
All of the investor capital or the investor deals that I did, every single one of them was off market.
And that's through
was the only
mailers.
The first one, no mailers,
cold call then.
Just cold call.
Okay.
Yeah. The only deal that I bought on market was the very first one.
Oh, interesting.
Every single other one has been off market or referrals.
Have you found?
Go ahead. Oh, sorry. I was just going to say I've actually gotten a ton of referrals from previous sellers, which is the best, the absolute best, because it's an easy intro conversation, You know, and it's when you know, when you're talking to a seller and you're like, hey, I own a park 10 miles away from you, and I also own this park that's, you know, 4.5 miles away. Tell me about your park. You know, it's just such a great conversation. They tell me everything, you know, how their dad built it. And it's just, and then I'm like, okay, I'm here to make you happy. As long as you're happy, I'm happy. You know, it's the famous line, like, you know, I'll give you your price, just give me my terms, you know, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Can you give us an example of one of those deals where you did a seller carry or something more creative?
Yeah. We, so this was the Mobile park that I was telling you about earlier. But there's a bunch of offers, bunch of people that are wanting to buy this. And we were at, gosh, I think there's a ton of offers at like 1.3, 1.4, 1.5. We eventually basically told her, look, you know, if you give us 5 years, we'll pay you an extra $100,000. And so we penciled that, and she's currently doing seller financing for us on that. And we basically increased the price to get a little bit longer of a payoff, because I was like, look, we can do like 1.3 or 1.4 today, but if you can hang on for a little bit, like, I'll pay you more money. And I'm fine with paying you more money, because the bank debt right now, like, I didn't want to do 8% on a 20-year AM with a, you know, $1.5 million loan. Like, I didn't want to do that. So I'm like, if you can hang for a little bit, I'll pay you more money. Just give me a little bit of time to pay it off. And that's what we did. And that deal has been incredible for us.
So what'd you put down on that, and what rate did she charge you and all
that? We put $300,000 down, and we got 6% interest only for 5 years.
Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah, so it saves you a ton of money on bank fees and everything.
Yes.
Are you thinking of staying in Alabama, or do you think that you can spread out a little bit?
I've thought about that. I'm very comfortable with where we're at right now. We got a great, like, little system. We got good on-site people, which is really hard to find. It's very, very hard to find on-site people, good on-site people that we can trust, you know, that there's checks and balances to. I think we're going to stay in Alabama for the foreseeable future. I get sent, especially now, I get sent so many deals in, you know, Georgia or Louisiana or Arkansas. And to start in a whole brand new state, you know what I mean? I don't really see that happening anytime soon.
So how many parks are there in Alabama? I'm assuming you want to keep doing this and keep growing. How many more opportunities are there like this in Alabama?
It's a great question. On the system, or on the data that I've seen, there's about 2,800 mobile home parks all across the state of Alabama, from, you know, and it's hard to tell exactly, you know, because that could be one mobile home on a 1/10 of an acre lot, and it could also be a 250 unit deal. You know what I mean? So it's kind of a mixture, but yeah, there's a little under 3,000 mobile home parks there.
I don't know that you answered the question when you're underwriting, because you're acquisitions, so you're getting all these opportunities. I'm guessing throughout your day, you're mostly focused on where's the next deal going to come from. So you're looking at a lot of deals. What is it that you see in a deal when 50 deals cross your desk? Why is it the one that you pull out and go, this is one I'm going to look closer at? What makes you look closer at it?
Great question. What I think is the most important thing or metric to look at when underwriting is price per occupied pad. Not the price per pad. Not, you know, and there's a big difference. There's a huge difference. I see it all the time. It's like, oh, it's price per pad. No, it's price per occupied pad. That is the more important metric, because, you know, for a lot of these deals, we're buying them for $15,000 to $20,000 per occupied pad, and they're at $400 lot rents. You know, so that makes sense to me. When I see a lot of these deals that are $30,000 a pad deals, if you really look down into it, they're not $30,000 per pad. They ended up being like $46,000 per occupied pad because all these brokers and agents and everything, they try to sell like the vacant lot idea. It's like, oh, you can fill all these vacant lots. There's 10 vacant lots that you can fill, but they don't understand that like to actually do that is we've never done any infill, by the way, 0. It's just super expensive. Like to literally go to Clayton and buy a, $75,000 brand new single wide and bring it in, spend 10 to 15 grand on the utility hookups. And like, it's a lot of moving parts. And I don't find that very attractive. Like what I find attractive is like what I can do today. Like if there's 4 or 5 different vacant mobile homes that I can rent in the next 30, 60, 90 days, I can work with that. But filling 10 vacant lots, it just seems like a lot of work, and I'm sure it would work out, but that's not my business model, I guess. I just don't want to go through all that.
And you talked about how some of the parks you own the homes and some of them you don't. So when you're out looking at a deal, yep. You're not. We've had some other MHP people on, and they talk about how they don't really want to own any of the homes, but it sounds like you're okay with that as long as it makes sense.
I'm okay with it to a certain extent. If these homes are trash and they're, 1960s, pre-HUD, and they're in bad condition, yeah, you're signing up for potentially a lot of CapEx on that unit. But it all depends on if it's in good condition, if it's a long-term tenant, if they're, a good tenant. Yeah, we can. I'm fine with taking on that risk with having to maybe potentially pay for an AC unit over the next 2 or 3 years on that. And I think the risk, I think the reward with park-owned homes outweighs the risk. There is a huge risk in it. Yes, there could be a tree that, falls through it, and now you have to, there's risk in everything. Mm-hmm. I just think the reward for park-owned home income outweighs the risk. And there's a lot of MHP guys out there that would not agree with me on that. And I get why they wouldn't agree, because the tenant-owned home model is what all of these giant hedge funds do. They specifically just focus on lot rent. They just focus on utilities. They just focus on that. They don't want to own the homes. They don't want to be in the rental business. But I'm okay with it right now. It might change in the future. I might be wrong, but right now I'm okay with it.
So how is
with the park on homes?
How has buying these parks changed your lifestyle? Like, it's given you equity, cash flow. Like, what has it allowed you to do?
Man, it's completely changed my life. Literally paid for all of our monthly expenses plus some, and plus a lot more on top of that. It's honest to God been absolutely life-changing for us financially.
So what do you do with all that? You like going on trips? You like spending it? You have kids, or it sounds like you have a wife?
No kids yet. We're trying for kids, currently doing IVF. But that's a new problem that we're having to, figure out. It's a whole new set of problems,
The having too much money
impact part? Yes, it is. It's, and it's not having too much money. It's just because I always thought, we're getting deep into this, man. This is deep. I always thought, it was going to be like a huge satisfaction thing when the money hits your account or when you hit this certain amount of cash flow, but your life really just doesn't change, and it was a weird thing for me to experience that, because I thought it was going to be this like eureka moment. And it wasn't. Like instantly when that money hits, it's like, okay, how do I make the world a better place? That's what I'm trying to do. How do I make my tenants' lives better? And so now we're thinking about, putting in like playgrounds and like picnic tables and like just literally making the parks better, not just doing signs and mailboxes, which everybody does, which we did, and those are easy value adds that you can do to mobile home parks. But now how do we actually make their lives better? how do we turn these tenants into sticky tenants? You know, do we pressure wash their trailers? Do we add skirting? You know, do we paint their trailers for them? You know, it's a whole new set of problems that I never even thought about before. But that's where we're at.
How old were you when you got married?
23.
So did your wife think you were crazy when you were flipping houses and then trying to buy mobile home parks in Alabama?
100%. 100%.
Was she on board with it, or you have to sell her on it?
No, has been very supportive and has been a great partner on all this. She takes care of the house and takes care of the life, and my goal is to provide, and so we got good roles and we got a good little system, and it's worked very well.
So what are you dreaming of doing going forward? Like, you want to have an X amount of cash flow to buy a jet, or like what do you want to do? What's your goal?
Not materialistic at all. I'm looking into how do I make a bigger impact? How do I help my family? How do I make the world a better place? Because it at some point it does feel a little bit selfish to want to continue to grow your bank account, and it's not a big change that I thought it was going to be, and so my next thing is like, how do I not only be like a good steward of capital, but how do I like grow and scale this properly? Like, how do I immediately help my employees and partner and capital partners and managers, on-site people, contractors, tenants? Like, how do I make this whole thing better? And that's the next set of problems that I'm trying to figure out right now. It's a good problem to have, but it's just problems that I didn't have before. I was just looking for yield before. I was just looking for cash flow to pay the mortgage every month. Now that's not a problem. Now it's a whole new set of problems.
So did you have on your college team, did you have anyone that made it to the MLB?
Not to the MLB. It's extremely hard to actually get to the big leagues. But we had 3 guys that played professional baseball.
They make a bunch of money and can invest with you, or not to that level?
You don't make money in minor leagues. You make $1,200 a month.
Oh.
And you work about 90 to 100 hours a week.
Sounds like a bad trade-off.
It was one of the reasons why I didn't really, really want to pursue that. Obviously, if I was, good enough to be able to make it to the minor leagues, I would have loved to do that, because like ego-wise, that would have been cool for me to say, yeah, I played professional baseball, but it just wasn't my path.
It's better to play professional MHP rather than MLB.
Well,
yes,
MLB,
minor league MLB,
minor league MLB,
Yeah.
Sure.
How much of your sports background plays into how you build your company and your systems today?
Man, I love that you asked that question. It was, Division I baseball was a job, and it taught me. It really made me grow up. It turned me from, a boy into a young man. Learned a lot about discipline. Learned a lot about, discipline is the biggest one, I would say, because it's such a high level that you are, competing for a job every single day at practice, even in the batting cages, like you're competing every single day. So I just naturally like to compete, and I kind of treat the business as like a sport. And it's a solo sport, which is nice. But there is a team aspect to it, which is hard. It's hard for me, like the leadership, the scaling, like the visionary, that part still is kind of hard for me. It's not natural. But I'm learning, and learning how to manage 3 employees. And, it's a whole other aspect to it, but really the discipline is the biggest part, I would say. And yeah, just the natural like competitiveness, like it just never goes away.
Who are you competing with though? Because you said you're a win-win guy. You went from this combative flipping mode into like going win-win. So are you competing with yourself or with other MHP owner? Okay, you just want to be better.
I'm competing. I'm my goal right now, what I'm competing with, is to be a good steward of capital and buy deals that make sense, that make my investor money, and that I'm able to return him his money in the future. That's what I'm competing with.
So if Rocket Capital were a sports team, how do you envision yourself? Are you the owner? Are you the man? Are you the GM? Are you the coach? Are you the what do you call it? The hitter that comes out and hits home runs?
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm not a sports guy. What do you call that guy that comes out?
Designated
hitter. Are you which role of the team do you play? And do you have all the players on your team that you're looking for, or are you looking to fill some of those roles, or how does that work?
Man, I have never been asked that before. That's a good one. Gosh, I mean, I would just say, I'm still very, very involved, like, in everything, like every decision, every, Slack message, everything. I'm still really involved because I think that's how you actually learn the business and become better. And that's also how you, in my opinion, help with quality control. Because delegation is still very hard for me. It's not natural at all. And so there's like a aspect of like delegation and quality control that I'm still struggling with, that I need to get better at. Maybe you guys have ideas you can share with me, but, I would say, like, I'm the point guard on the basketball team, like I'm driving this boat, and I'm asking the people around me to, like, hop on my back and, like, this is where we're going. But I'm still actively involved, very actively involved.
You're leading the team from the court. You're Michael Jordan.
From the front.
All right.
Leading from the front.
Do you foresee yourself to always be in that role, or do you imagine that you work your way up the org chart or off the org chart?
That's a thing that I've never even thought about before. I think I'm still so young that I don't see that happening for a long, long, long time. Maybe in the future, but I also love the business too. Like, it's fun. Like, this is fun for me every single day. So I enjoy it. So I'm not trying to get out. Like, I'm trying to stay in it and get better, if that makes sense.
But you're trying to make the world a better place. And Garrett's going to have to evolve into a new human being for that to happen.
That's exactly right.
Call Mike.
Exactly right.
Mike will teach you about evolving.
Hey, if you're not changing your org chart, you're not living and growing. You gotta blow that thing up sideways, stretch it sideways, stack it stopwise, topple it over, rebuild it.
Great. Yeah, that's a great point. Hiring has been hard. Hiring and, like, scaling. That is a part of business that I feel like a lot of people don't talk about. And it's hard, how to do it properly, what role to hire. I was never taught any of this. I've, basically had a few really good mentors and, watched a ton of YouTube videos, but I'm still learning this whole thing myself.
Yeah, you just want to be careful not to build yourself a prison cell. Like, you don't want to build a business so big that it doesn't give you the life that you're looking for. I think that's what Trevor was alluding to, is like, what does your life look like now? You've kind of hit the first level where you're like, okay, I got the bills paid. Now we're going to start thinking about more than just taking care of Garrett and the household. Now we got to start taking care of employees, taking care of the business, taking care of our customers, taking care of the world around us, our community.
Yep.
And you're a young guy, and so you're doing a lot of big things for somebody that's your age. But I think that's one way to look at it. And one way I look at it is that I want to be sure that I'm not doing a job that I'm not supposed to be doing just because I like doing it. There's a certain role that needs to be played. And so when you look at that team, there's a reason why there's an owner and there's a general manager and there's a head coach and there's a defense coach and there's all the other stuff that the people on the team. And so you're going to have a bigger impact on the world. Maybe not. Maybe it doesn't take your company growing to do that. But if you want to grow and you want to have more impact, my idea is that I want to not stop our companies from growing because of me. I don't want to be the bottleneck because I decide I want to play point guard my whole life. You know, at some point you got to become the coach. At some point you got to become the GM. At some point you got to become the owner. Somebody else should be playing in those roles. So it's just something to think about, because you're going to get to the point you did 13 parks in a couple of years. Like, if you keep going at this pace, I mean, you're going to have 6 months from now, you're going to have new problems you can't even imagine today. And you're going to go like, oh my gosh, I mean, you're going to burn yourself out, or you're going to be like, oh, this isn't as fun as I thought it was, or, you know, there might be some, you know, reflection points where you look at that and go, maybe I didn't think this all the way through. So to have a future vision for yourself and your company is important.
Well, I'm glad we're having this conversation right now, because this last week is, you know, with this largest refinance of my career this week. This week has been an actual transition into the next level or next phase of business. You're seeing it happening live. And it is a whole new set of problems, like I said before, that, you know, a whole new set of questions and problems that I don't have the answers for yet. But it literally just happened 72 hours ago.
What do you mean by that?
Financially,
you put a bunch of money in your pocket.
Scale wise, no, I paid back my investor 100% on the first 2 deals.
He likes that.
Completely cashed him out of the first 2 deals that he bet on with me, and it worked. It absolutely worked.
Congratulations.
And he's happy. Yeah, thank you. He's happy. He's stoked, and he's already recommitted that capital for the next 2 deals. And it's just I'm just so proud of that it all worked out, that I made the right decisions. I made the right choices for all of that to like come together. It's such a proud moment for me to be able to pay back a large chunk of that, you know, $500,000 to my investor. But it's different than paying off a bank, you know, because when you pay off a bank, it's like, you know, that happens all the time. But when you're wiring it to like a friend, it just hits different. It's more meaningful.
It's more fun. All right, Garrett, we're going to wrap this up.
I got one more question.
Oh, Trevor has a question.
Have you looked into developing or building mobile home parks at all?
No.
Just tell him no. Just slap him. Just say.
He doesn't even want to do infill. Why would he do development?
He's probably looked at it, though. He's in the space.
I have looked at it. There's a ton of there's a ton of people talking about development. I would say it's more prominent in Florida. You know, it's really market dependent, but there is a friend that I have in Alabama that is currently developing a park. So we'll see how that goes, and then if it goes well, maybe that sparks the interest. You know, we'll see.
I'm looking at doing a 150 unit park development because Gabe said he wants a mobile home park. So that's why I'm
Trevor
asking.
will find us the most dangerous way to do it.
No.
Sounds about right.
I like Garrett's way better. All right. So, Garrett, it sounds like, I don't know what you want our listeners to get from you, but if they wanted to reach out to you, your rocketcapital.fund, you said, is your website.
Yep.
I'm imagining if somebody wanted to reach out to you and ask some questions about MHP or Alabama or something like that, you'd be open to hearing them out. Is there a way people can reach you if they just want to? Are you on Instagram or Facebook or any of that stuff?
Very, very active on Instagram and Facebook at Garrett_Terrell. Very active on there. I'm an open book. I'm happy to help newbies. I was the newbie asking a ton of questions to people, and so I'm just wanting to return the favor.
I think this is one of the biggest ways you can add impact, like you're talking about, is to help people go out and do what you did. That's why we do this podcast.
Yeah.
Thanks for being on Deal Junkies, Garrett. It's amazing, and congrats on your big refi. That's exciting. I'm happy for you.
Thank you.
All right. Hey, Deal Junkies. Thank you. And if you want to reach out to us for a phone call, dealjunkiespodcast.com. Thanks for listening. We love you guys. Please share us with someone you love, and we'll see you next time.